Hello, writers. Today on Digital Writers Workshop, we're going to be talking about craft. And craft, the best way to think about craft of your piece is kind of like the spice. It makes your piece more interesting. It makes your piece more appealing to your reader. Another way to think about craft is in terms of clarity. How clear is your piece? How much sense does your piece make to your reader? So again, we can think about craft in terms of how interesting or how spicy it is, and also how clear it is. All right, so let's jump in. Our goal today in this Digital Writers Workshop is that we are going to learn some tips to improve the overall quality of your written pieces. And this is important because it makes our piece more interesting, but also clearer and more understandable. So we can think of craft in terms of two different areas. We can think about it in terms of making it more interesting, and we can also think about craft in terms of making it more clear. So I'm going to reveal these, and I'm going to show you some ways first that we can make our piece more interesting, and then we're going to take a look at some pieces that other authors have written. So first, we can write our piece kind of like a story. We'll see an example of that in just a moment. We might choose to make our piece funny. This is going to instantly keep your reader hooked and make them want to finish the rest of your piece. We could add rich and interesting details. Often when you're reading, I'm sure that you're learning a lot of new and interesting and fun ideas. And this is what makes us want to read. It makes us want to read, and it makes your reader want to read more of your piece. Also word choice. We can think about, if we're using words like cold, could we change that to another word like frigid or freezing? That might make our readers more interested. Okay, also we can think about our craft in terms of clarity, or how clear it is for a reader. And again, word choice comes up. A lot of times when we choose words, when we're trying to describe something, we don't choose the most accurate word. So again, cold is a good example. If I wanted to describe absolute zero, the coldest temperature that humans that could possibly be reached, I wouldn't say cold, because cold is a word that I would use to describe how it feels in December. Absolute zero is far, far, far colder than that. So I might want to use a word like absolutely freezing or entirely, utterly frigid. So word choice matters because it makes our piece more clear for our reader. Graphs, diagrams, and pictures, these are very important to include, and they help our reader to better understand what we're trying to tell them. And last, headers. It's an organizational way that we can show our reader exactly what we are trying to teach them. So we'll see examples of all of these in our pieces that we look at. First, this is a piece from Science Alert, and it's here's how often you should wash your bath towel. I hate to break it to you, and you can read along as I'm reading, but your bath towel is dirty, really dirty. The moment you use it, it becomes a breeding ground for bacteria, fungi, dead skin cells, salivary, anal, and urinary secretions, and many other germs lingering in your bathroom that may have hopped onto your towel, including droplets from your toilet. So we can see that this piece is teaching us about something, but it's also including a lot of interesting word choice, disgusting word choice, urinary, secretions, fungi, bacteria, dirty. These words are really drawing my attention in and making me want to read more. Let's take a look at another piece. This is from The New Yorker, which is a fabulous, fabulous source. This is Japan copes with the disappearing eel. So again, we're seeing a word choice here, and it's also presenting sort of a mystery for me to solve. So let's see what the mystery is. Right off the bat, we see a picture that is very interesting. We see it's a little bit bloody, a little bit gory, and this is sort of drawing my attention in and wanting to read more. It says, One hot evening last July, I visited the Michelin-starred unagi, or eel restaurant, Nodaiwa, which sits in a quiet basement beneath Tokyo's glamorous Ginza shopping district. So right off the bat, we can see a lot of beautiful language. We also see one hot evening. It reads like a story. It's not simply a news piece. This is something that I'm learning about. It's a journey that I'm going on. Next door is the world's most famous sushi restaurant, Sukiyabashi Jiro, which was the subject of a documentary from 2012 called Jiro Dreams of Sushi. The restaurant is now so famous that a sign written in English sits outside its entrance asking visitors not to take photographs. In recent years, less benign developments have forced Nodaiwa to place a sign at its entrance as well. Whenever I visit, I count myself lucky to find the following message written on it in Japanese. Today, we have natural Japanese eel. So this is sort of leading me to down a rabbit hole, down a mystery that needs to be solved. Why does this sign need to be put out of a sushi restaurant? A sushi restaurant should have eel. That's part of being a sushi restaurant. So this reads sort of like a story, and it's really sucking my attention in and making me want to know more about the author's main idea. All right, so let's look at our very last piece, and this is about how the Large Hadron Collider, which is a atomic smasher in Geneva, how this works. And I'm not going to read it, but I do want to show you some of the things that pop out at you right away. We see some pictures. We also see some headers. We see some subtext which describe what's going on in the picture. We see small sections that are sectioned off with some headers. Acceleration, it tells us exactly what that is. Collision, creation. So again, this is more towards the clarity. It's making this very difficult subject about how the Large Hadron Collider works. It's making it understandable for me, the reader. All right. So just to kind of recap, we talked about craft, how this is both the spice, but also the clarity of your piece. We talked about how it makes your piece more understandable and also more interesting. We talked about how you can increase the interest of your piece by making it write sort of like a story. You can make it funny. You can add rich and interesting details, or you can think about your word choice. And we also talked about ways that you could make it more clear for your reader. Again, word choice to be accurate in what you're trying to say. Using graphs, diagrams, and pictures to make sense of difficult ideas. And then headers that are usually bolded. We saw that our headers in here were usually bolded, Atlas Detector. All right, so I hope you can use these tips when you go back to correct your own piece and make it both more interesting, but also clearer for your readers.